Welcome, my friends. Today, I want to share a beautiful life story with you, a story about dreams, patience, and becoming strong in your own way. This story is not only about fame, it is about growth, courage, and believing in yourself when the world is watching. If you are learning English, this story will help you enjoy reading in a simple and natural way. The words are easy, the feelings are real, and the journey is full of meaning. You do not need to know movies or fashion to enjoy this story. You only need to know what it feels like to dream and to feel unsure sometimes. This story will take you from small stages to bright lights. From a young girl learning who she is to a woman standing strong in her own voice. As you listen or read, imagine you are walking beside her. Feel her doubts, her hope, her fear, and her courage. This story is here to remind you that your voice matters too. No matter where you start, you can grow into who you are meant to be. So take a deep breath, relax your mind, and let this story carry you forward. A girl with many dreams. Zendaya was born into a world full of movement, music, and creative energy. Her home was not filled with silence, it was filled with voices, laughter, practice, and imagination. From a young age, she learned that life could be a stage, and the stage could be a place to discover yourself. She grew up in California, in a place where art, dance, and performance were part of everyday life. Her family supported creativity, and this support became a soft ground under her feet. She did not grow up with luxury, but she grew up with care. That care became her quiet strength. As a child, Zendaya was curious about everything. She liked to move, to listen, and to watch people. She noticed how emotions changed faces. She noticed how stories could be told without words. This attention to small details would later shape the way she acted and spoke to the world. Dance became one of her first languages. When she danced, she felt free. Her body learned to speak feelings that words could not hold yet. The practice rooms were simple, but her dreams were wide. Each step was a small conversation with her future self. She trained in dance for many years. Some days were joyful, some days were hard. Her legs felt tired, and her mind wanted rest. But she learned something important early in life. Growth comes when you stay even on days you want to leave. At school, Zendaya was not always the loudest voice in the room. She observed more than she spoke. She listened to people. She noticed how some students felt confident and how some felt small. These moments taught her empathy. They taught her to see others, not just herself. Her family encouraged her to try different forms of art. She joined small performances. She practiced in community spaces. The stages were not big, but the feeling of being seen was new and powerful. Each time she stood under a light, she learned something about courage. At first, she did not think about becoming famous. She thought about becoming better. Better at dance, better at speaking clearly, better at expressing emotions. Fame was not her goal, growth was her direction. This mindset quietly protected her heart. There were moments when she felt shy. There were moments when she wondered if she was good enough. These feelings did not disappear as she grew older. They stayed with her in different forms. But instead of running from them, she learned to walk with them. As opportunities started to appear, she stepped forward carefully. Small auditions came, small chances opened. She did not win everything. Some doors stayed closed. Each closed door taught her patience. Each open door taught her responsibility. When she began acting, the world felt different. Acting was not only about performing, it was about understanding people. She studied emotions. She practiced listening deeply. She learned that every character carries a story, even when the story is quiet. The early days of acting were exciting but also confusing. She had to learn new skills. She had to stand in front of people and cameras. She had to repeat lines again and again. Sometimes she felt strong. Sometimes she felt unsure. The pressure to be perfect slowly entered her life. When people watch you, mistakes feel louder. Zendaya learned that being seen can feel heavy. She learned that confidence is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward even when fear is present. As she became more visible, she also became more aware of how the world speaks about young girls. The words people use can shape how someone sees themselves. Zendaya felt this weight early. She decided that her voice would be kind to herself, even when the world was not. Her early success brought new responsibilities. People looked at her as an example. This was both an honor and a challenge. She wanted to grow freely, but she also wanted to be careful with the influence she had. This balance became part of her inner work. There were long days of filming and short nights of rest. Her body learned discipline, her mind learned focus. She did not rush through this learning. She allowed herself to be a beginner again and again. Each role was a new classroom. Sometimes, she missed simple days when no one watched her. She missed being unknown. But she also felt thankful for the chance to grow through her work. Gratitude and longing lived together in her heart. As she walked through early success, she stayed close to her roots. Her family remained a safe place for her. When the world felt loud, home felt quiet. This quiet helped her remember who she was before the lights. Zendaya began to understand that her journey was not only about acting or dancing. It was about becoming comfortable in her own skin. It was about learning to speak when silence felt easier. It was about choosing honesty when pretending felt safer. This beginning of her story was gentle but strong. The girl with many dreams was learning how to carry them with care. She was stepping into a bigger world, but she was still learning how to stand in her own space, learning to stand in the light. As Zendaya moved deeper into her teenage years, the world around her began to change its tone. The rooms grew bigger, the cameras grew closer. The expectations grew heavier. She was no longer only a girl learning to dance and act. She was becoming a young woman learning how to carry attention. With more people watching, every step felt louder. Every word felt heavier. Even simple choices felt important. What she wore, how she spoke, how she smiled. These things, once private, now felt public. She learned that being seen is not only about being known, it is about being judged too. At first, the praise felt warm. People said kind things about her talent. They admired her energy and her smile. These words lifted her spirit. They made her believe in her work. But slowly, other voices joined the praise. Voices that compared her, voices that expected perfection. Comparison is a quiet thief. It does not shout, it whispers. Zendaya began to notice how easy it was to look at others and feel smaller. She saw people her age moving fast, growing famous quickly, becoming symbols of beauty and success. Sometimes she wondered if she was moving fast enough. In these moments, she returned to the lessons of her early years. Growth is not a race. Growth is a walk. Sometimes it is slow, sometimes it is painful. But it is always personal. She reminded herself that her path did not need to look like anyone else's path. The roles she took began to change. The stories became deeper. The emotions became more complex. She had to step into feelings she had not lived yet. Sadness, fear, loss, strength. Each role asked her to stretch her heart. Acting became not just performance, but understanding. There were days when she left the set feeling tired in her soul. Carrying emotions for hours can be heavy. She learned to take care of her inner world. She learned to find quiet after noise. She learned that rest is not weakness, it is a form of respect for yourself. As her name became more known, people formed opinions about her. Some people loved her, some people criticized her. Some people thought they knew her from the outside. She realized that fame can create stories about you that are not your own. In this space between who she was and who people thought she was, Zendaya had to choose her voice. She chose honesty. She chose to speak about what mattered to her. She chose to be careful with her words but brave with her truth. Fashion became another language for her. The way she dressed was not only about beauty, it was about expression. It was about saying, "This is me today." Some days she felt bold. Some days she felt simple. She allowed herself to change without apology. Not everyone understood her choices. Some people expected her to fit into one image, one style, one box. She felt this pressure. But she also felt a quiet strength growing inside her. She learned that boxes are made by fear, and growth happens outside them. There were moments when mistakes happened. Small mistakes, big mistakes, words said in the wrong moment. Choices that did not feel right later. Instead of hiding from these moments, she faced them. She apologized when needed. She learned when needed. Learning in public is hard. When you grow in front of the world, every lesson feels exposed. Zendaya felt this deeply, but she also saw the beauty in it. If people saw her grow, maybe they would feel permission to grow too. She began to understand the power of her presence. Young people watched her. They listened to her words. This realization did not make her perfect. It made her careful. She wanted to be honest about struggle, not only about success. There were times when she felt tired of being strong. Strength can be lonely when you feel you must always carry it. In those moments, she leaned on her close circle. She leaned on people who knew her before the lights. This kept her grounded. Her work continued to evolve. The stories she chose began to reflect deeper questions about identity, pain, and resilience. She wanted to tell stories that mattered, stories that did not only entertain, but also touch something real inside people. With each new project, she felt both excitement and fear. Excitement because she loved growth, fear because growth always asks for vulnerability. To grow is to be seen in your becoming, not only in your success. There were moments when criticism felt sharp. Words on screens can feel cold. She learned not to carry every opinion into her heart. Not every voice deserves a home in your mind. This lesson became a shield for her peace. She also learned that silence can be powerful. Not every moment needs a response. Not every criticism needs a reply. Sometimes choosing peace is choosing silence. This choice gave her more space to breathe. As she walked through these years, Zendaya's sense of self grew clearer. She was not only an actress, she was a person learning her values. She cared about fairness, she cared about representation. She cared about using her platform with care. These values shaped her choices. She asked questions about the stories she told. She paid attention to how people were shown on screen. She wanted to be part of change, even in small ways. There were days when she doubted her impact. Change can feel slow. One person can feel small. But she remembered that small steps, when repeated, create long paths. She stayed patient with the process. The pressure of success also brought moments of loneliness. Fame can be loud, but it can also be isolating. She learned to create quiet spaces for herself. Reading, music, simple walks. These small acts brought her back to herself. As her confidence grew, it did not become loud. It became calm. She did not need to prove herself in every room. She learned to enter spaces with openness instead of armor. This quiet confidence became part of her presence. People began to notice her depth. They saw that her success was not only about talent. It was about intention. It was about how she treated people. It was about how she spoke when others were silent. The young girl who once practiced dance steps in small rooms was now standing in larger spaces. The lights were brighter, the stages were bigger. But her heart still carried the lessons of patience and humility. This part of her journey was about learning to stand in the light without losing her shadow. It was about learning to be visible without becoming empty. It was about growing strong while staying soft inside, finding her own voice. As Zendaya stepped into adulthood, something quiet but powerful changed inside her. She no longer wanted to only follow the path given to her. She wanted to help shape her own direction. This feeling did not arrive suddenly, but grew slowly through small choices and brave moments. With every new project, she began to ask deeper questions about her work. She asked herself what kind of stories she wanted to tell. She wondered who those stories could help. These questions guided her choices more than fame ever did. Acting slowly became more than just a job for her. It became a way to reflect real emotions back to people. She wanted viewers to feel understood, not just entertained. She wanted stories to touch something honest inside the heart. Some roles asked her to show pain she had never lived. Some asked her to show strength she was still learning. She prepared carefully, listening to real people and their experiences. She treated each story with respect and care. There were scenes that stayed with her long after filming ended. Emotions do not disappear when the camera stops. She learned to release those feelings gently through quiet time, music, and simple moments alone. This helped her protect her inner world. As her work reached more people, her voice became clearer. She spoke about respect, fairness, and being seen as a whole person. She spoke about the pressure young people feel to be perfect. Her words were simple, but they carried meaning. Not everyone agreed with what she said. Some people wanted her to stay quiet and only smile. But Zendaya felt that silence was heavier than honesty. She chose to speak, even when her voice felt small in big spaces. Standing for something can feel lonely. When you speak your truth, not everyone stands with you. She felt this weight in quiet moments. But she also felt peace in staying honest with herself, and that peace gave her strength. Her work became deeper and more serious. The stories she chose showed pain, confusion, and real struggle. Some viewers felt uncomfortable at first, but many people felt seen for the first time, and that feeling mattered to her. Zendaya understood that discomfort can open the door to truth. Real stories can challenge people to see life differently. She did not want to hide hard emotions behind pretty images. She wanted to honor real feelings with honesty. There were moments when fear tried to hold her back. Fear of failing, fear of being misunderstood, fear of not being enough. These fears came quietly, especially before new challenges. But she learned to move forward even when fear was present. Instead of fighting fear, she learned to walk with it. She accepted fear as part of growth. When fear appeared, it meant she was stepping into something new. This understanding helped her face challenges with calm courage. As her confidence grew, she also became more gentle with others. She treated people with care on and off the set. She listened when others spoke. She remembered what it felt like to be small in big rooms. Her leadership was quiet but strong. She did not demand attention or control. She earned respect through kindness and consistency. People felt safe around her because she created space for others to be themselves. There were times when success felt heavy again. Praise and expectations created noise around her. When the noise grew loud, she returned to simple things like long walks, calm music, and honest conversations. These moments helped her breathe. She reminded herself that she was human before she was famous. She allowed herself to feel tired without guilt. She allowed herself to rest without fear of falling behind. This kindness toward herself kept her balanced. Zendaya also faced moments of doubt about her own identity. When many people define you, it is easy to forget who you are. She took quiet time to ask herself what she truly valued and who she wanted to become. These answers did not come quickly. They grew slowly through experience and reflection. She learned that identity is not fixed forever. It changes as you grow, and you are allowed to change with it. As she explored deeper roles, she also explored deeper parts of herself. Some parts felt strong and confident, some parts felt soft and unsure. She accepted all of them as real parts of her story. She became more careful about what she shared with the world. Not every part of her life needed to be public. Protecting her private space helped her stay whole inside. This balance gave her quiet strength. She began to understand that success is not only about reaching high places. It is about staying grounded when you arrive there. It is about remembering your values when the world is praising you. This part of Zendaya's journey was about finding her own voice. Not the voice others expected from her, not the voice that followed trends, but the voice that felt honest to her heart and her values. Her voice did not need to shout to be strong. It spoke with calm confidence and clear intention. It stood firm when needed and stayed kind when possible. This balance became part of who she was. People began to notice a deeper presence in her work. They saw honesty in her eyes and intention in her choices. The young girl who once learned to perform was now learning to lead with her truth, walking through fire and staying gentle. As Zendaya moved forward in her journey, the world around her felt louder. The attention on her choices grew heavier with every new step. People spoke about her work, her style, her words, and even her silence. She learned that being visible means being watched from many angles. Some days, this attention felt like warm light. It reminded her that her work touched people. Other days, it felt like fire on her skin. Words from strangers could be sharp and careless. She learned that not all noise deserves a place in your heart. Criticism began to appear more often as her success grew. Some people questioned her choices. Some doubted her growth. Some tried to place limits on what they believed she could become. These voices were not kind, but they were loud. At first, these words stayed with her longer than she wanted. They echoed in quiet moments. She found herself replaying comments in her mind. Slowly, she realized that carrying every opinion was draining her energy. She decided to choose which voices mattered. She learned to listen to people who knew her heart, not just her image. Family, close friends, and trusted mentors reminded her of who she was beyond the screen. Their words felt steady and real. This support helped her stand firm when the world felt uncertain. Zendaya also learned to forgive herself for moments of doubt. Being strong does not mean never feeling unsure. Strength can include softness and questions. She allowed herself to be human in private, even when the world expected confidence in public. There were projects that pushed her far outside her comfort zone. Some roles asked her to carry heavy emotions for long hours. She felt the weight of these stories in her body and mind. After long days, she learned to slow down and breathe deeply again. Rest became a form of respect for herself. She stopped seeing rest as weakness. She understood that care is part of growth. By allowing herself to pause, she found more clarity in her work and more calm in her spirit. As her influence grew, she became more aware of her impact. Young people looked to her not only for entertainment, but for guidance. This responsibility felt heavy at times. She wanted to be honest without pretending to be perfect. She spoke about real struggles without turning them into drama. She spoke about pressure without hiding behind smiles. This honesty created connection. People felt less alone when they heard her speak with truth instead of perfection. There were moments when she faced unfair treatment. Moments when her voice was questioned or her space was challenged. These experiences were painful, but they also sharpened her sense of justice. She learned to stand up with calm strength instead of anger. Standing up did not always mean speaking loudly. Sometimes it meant choosing better spaces. Sometimes it meant walking away from what did not respect her. These choices were quiet, but they protected her dignity and peace. Zendaya also learned that you cannot change every room you enter. Some spaces are not ready to listen. Instead of forcing change, she chose to invest her energy where growth was possible. This wisdom saved her strength. Her understanding of success continued to change. Success was no longer only about awards or praise. It became about staying true to her values in difficult moments. It became about choosing kindness even when the world felt unkind. There were nights when doubt returned, late nights when the noise of the world felt louder than her inner voice. In those moments, she reminded herself of her early lessons. Growth is slow, and that is okay. She remembered the young girl who practiced in small rooms. That girl did not know about awards or headlines. She only knew about love for movement and stories. Remembering this helped her reconnect with her original joy. Zendaya also learned the importance of choosing her environment carefully. She chose to work with people who treated others with respect. She chose spaces where voices were heard and valued. This choice shaped her experience of success. As her work became more visible, she faced moments of misunderstanding. People often see only a small part of a person. They build stories from that small view. She learned not to carry these stories as truth about herself. Protecting her inner world became an important part of her life. She limited what she shared publicly. She kept some moments just for herself. This balance allowed her to stay open without feeling exposed. There were days when she felt tired of being strong. Strength can be heavy when it is constant. In those moments, she allowed herself to lean on others. She learned that asking for support is also a form of courage. Her relationships became a source of grounding. Simple conversations, shared laughter, and quiet presence reminded her of normal life. These moments helped her feel real in a world that sometimes felt unreal. Zendaya also faced the challenge of growth in public. Every change in her life was noticed. Every shift in her identity was discussed. She learned to accept that people will talk, but not all talk needs to be answered. She focused on staying honest with herself rather than explaining herself to everyone. This choice brought peace. It allowed her to grow without fear of constant judgment. Through challenges, her kindness did not disappear. She treated people with care even when she felt tired. This kindness was not weakness, it was a strength she chose to protect. She learned that staying gentle in a hard world is a brave choice. The world often teaches people to become cold. Zendaya chose to stay warm in her heart while becoming strong in her boundaries, becoming more than the spotlight. As Zendaya moved into a new season of her life, the noise around her did not disappear. The lights were still bright, and the world still watched closely. But something inside her had grown quieter and stronger. She was learning to listen more to her inner voice than to the outside noise. She began to understand that the spotlight is not a place to live. It is a place you visit while doing your work. Your real life happens in the quiet spaces when the lights turn off. This idea helped her protect her peace in a world that never sleeps. There were moments when the world praised her loudly. Success brought attention, awards, and admiration. These moments felt warm, but she did not let them define her worth. She reminded herself that praise is a moment, not an identity. There were also moments when the world turned cold. Criticism returned from time to time. Words could still hurt, even after years of growth. But now she met these moments with steadier breath and calmer thoughts. She did not let every opinion settle inside her heart. Zendaya's understanding of herself had become deeper. She knew her values more clearly. She knew what kind of spaces she wanted to be in. She knew what kind of energy she wanted to bring into rooms. This clarity guided her choices. She chose projects that aligned with her heart. She said no to work that did not respect her values. Saying no was not easy at first. But each time she chose her values, she felt stronger inside. With time, she realized that true power is not loud. True power is quiet confidence. It is knowing when to speak and when to walk away. It is knowing that your worth does not depend on being chosen by everyone. She began to see her journey as a long road, not a short race. There was no need to rush growth. There was no need to prove herself every day. She allowed her story to unfold in its own time. Zendaya also began to use her voice in more thoughtful ways. She spoke about fairness, respect, and human dignity. She did not speak to show power. She spoke to invite understanding. Her words carried calm strength instead of anger. She understood that change does not always happen in big moments. Sometimes change begins in quiet conversations. Sometimes it grows from listening deeply. She practiced listening as much as she practiced speaking. As her work reached people around the world, she felt connected to stories beyond her own. She learned it from different cultures and voices. These lessons reminded her that the world is wide, and every story holds value. There were moments when she felt grateful for the journey behind her. The small rooms, the early doubts, the quiet lessons. All of these moments shaped her strength. She honored her past without being trapped by it. She also learned to forgive her past self for mistakes. Growth means you will look back and see moments you would change. Instead of feeling shame, she chose compassion for her younger self. That compassion made her gentler with others too. Zendaya found new meaning in simplicity. Simple days without cameras, simple meals with people she trusted. Simple laughter without performance. These moments felt rich in a way that fame could not replace. She began to measure success by peace instead of noise. A calm heart felt more valuable than loud applause. This shift changed how she experienced her life. As she walked forward, she carried her lessons quietly. She did not need to speak about growth all the time. Her choices reflected her growth naturally. People could feel the difference in her presence. She understood that she could not carry the world on her shoulders. She could only carry her own actions with care. This understanding freed her from the heavy need to fix everything. Zendaya allowed herself to be imperfect in public moments. When mistakes happened, she met them with honesty. She did not hide behind excuses. This honesty built trust with others and peace within herself. She also allowed herself to celebrate small wins. Growth is not only found in big moments. It is found in small brave choices made every day. These small wins quietly shaped her path. As she looked ahead, she did not see a fixed future. She saw many possible roads. This did not scare her. It made her feel alive. Possibility felt like freedom. Her journey was no longer only about becoming successful. It was about becoming whole. She wanted her life to feel true, not just impressive. This desire guided her forward with calm purpose. As this final part of her story begins, Zendaya is standing in a place of quiet strength. The girl who once dreamed in small spaces has grown into a woman who walks with intention. The journey ahead is still unknown, but she is ready to meet it with an open heart, becoming more than the spotlight. As Zendaya continued to walk forward, she became more comfortable with who she was becoming. She no longer felt the need to explain herself to every voice around her. The world had many opinions, but she chose which ones deserved her attention. She learned that peace grows when you stop fighting every misunderstanding. Some people will never see your full story, and that is okay. You are not meant to be fully understood by everyone. This truth gave her more space to breathe. With time, she noticed that her presence felt calmer in rooms that once felt heavy. She no longer entered spaces with fear of judgment. She entered with quiet confidence and respect for herself. This change was not loud, but it was deep. Zendaya also began to notice the people around her more clearly. She saw who celebrated her growth without jealousy. She saw who listened when she spoke. She learned to keep her circle small and genuine. This choice protected her energy. There were moments when she felt grateful for the struggles she had faced. Hard moments had taught her patience. Quiet moments had taught her reflection. Painful moments had taught her compassion for others who were hurting. She began to see struggle not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Each challenge showed her something about her strength. Each doubt revealed where she still needed kindness for herself. These lessons shaped her character gently over time. Zendaya started to use her platform with more intention. She shared messages that encouraged kindness and understanding. She chose words that invited people to think, not fight. This approach helped her speak truth without creating more noise. She understood that influence is not about control. It is about presence. The way you show up in the world matters more than how loudly you speak. This belief guided how she carried herself in public spaces. As her journey continued, she felt more connected to her purpose. Her work felt meaningful because it reflected her values. She was not chasing attention. She was choosing alignment with what felt right in her heart. There were times when she stepped away from noise to protect her clarity. Silence became a friend instead of something to fear. In quiet moments, she could hear her own thoughts clearly again. This helped her stay grounded. Zendaya also learned to celebrate growth in others. She supported people around her without comparison. She understood that another person's success does not take away from her own. This mindset kept jealousy from growing in her heart. She became more patient with her own pace. Life did not need to move faster just because the world moved fast. She allowed herself to grow in her own time. This patience gave her journey more meaning. As she reflected on her past, she felt gratitude for the lessons hidden in every season of her life. The early struggles had built her strength. The confusing moments had shaped her clarity. The quiet moments had taught her to listen. She learned to trust her inner compass. When choices felt unclear, she returned to her values. These values guided her more reliably than fear or praise ever could. Zendaya also learned to hold joy gently. Joy does not need to be loud to be real. Small moments of happiness became precious to her. A simple laugh, a peaceful morning, a calm breath all felt meaningful. She found beauty in ordinary days. Days without headlines or cameras still held value. These simple days reminded her that life is not only about big moments, it is also about quiet living. As she looked ahead, she did not feel pressure to know every step. The future did not need to be fully planned. She trusted that she could meet each new moment with the strength she had grown. She understood that growth is a lifelong process. You do not reach a final version of yourself. You continue to learn, unlearn, and grow. This understanding made her more patient with change. Zendaya's story was no longer about proving herself to the world. It was about staying true to herself in every season. This shift gave her a deeper sense of freedom. As this part of her journey unfolds, she walks with more ease in her heart. The noise of the world still exists, but it no longer controls her steps. She moves forward with calm strength, ready to meet what comes next, becoming more than the spotlight section. See final. As Zendaya continued forward, she carried her lessons quietly inside her. She did not feel the need to announce her growth to the world. Growth showed itself in the way she listened, the way she chose, and the way she stayed true to herself. She began to understand that the most important work happens inside. The world can change quickly, but the heart changes slowly. She honored this slow change and gave herself time to become the person she wanted to be. There were moments when she looked back at her younger self with gentle eyes. She remembered the uncertainty, the hope, and the fear. Instead of judging that younger version, she felt compassion. That compassion helped her stay kind to others who were still finding their way. Zendaya learned that success does not remove struggle. Even at high places, quiet battles remain, but she no longer feared these battles. She saw them as reminders to return to her values and her inner calm. She also learned that it is okay to step away from what no longer fits your heart. Growth means you will outgrow certain spaces, roles, and expectations. Letting go is not loss. Sometimes it is respect for your own becoming. As her journey unfolded, she allowed herself to dream again, not about fame, but about meaning. She dreamed about stories that could bring comfort to people. She dreamed about work that could open hearts and minds. Zendaya began to measure her life by how true it felt inside, not by how impressive it looked outside. A calm mind felt more valuable than loud praise. A peaceful heart felt more powerful than attention. She carried her purpose with quiet care. She did not need to rush toward the next big moment. She trusted that meaningful work would meet her when the time was right. This trust gave her patience. There were days when she felt deeply grateful for the journey she had walked. The difficult days had taught her strength. The joyful days had reminded her to stay open. Every day, in its own way, had shaped her into who she was becoming. Zendaya also learned that she did not need to have all the answers. Life is not a puzzle to solve once and finish forever. It is a path you walk, learning with each step. This understanding made her gentler with uncertainty. She found comfort in knowing that change is natural. You are allowed to grow beyond your past. You are allowed to become someone new. This freedom allowed her to keep moving forward without fear of change. As she looked toward the future, she did not feel the need to control every detail. She trusted her ability to face what comes. She trusted her values to guide her choices. This trust brought calm confidence. Zendaya's story, in the end, is not only about talent or success. It is about becoming more than the spotlight. It is about staying kind in a loud world. It is about choosing truth over image. Her journey reminds us that growth is not always visible, but it is always real. The strongest changes happen quietly inside the heart. When you honor your inner world, your outer world slowly follows. To every listener and reader, her story offers a simple lesson. You do not need to rush your becoming. You do not need to match anyone else's path. Your journey is yours, and it is enough. As this story comes to rest, the path ahead remains open. Zendaya continues walking forward with gentle strength. And in her journey, we are reminded that becoming yourself is the greatest success of all. If this story touched your heart, don't walk away alone. Subscribe and walk with us in the next story.